Don't wait for opportunities to come to you. Put yourself into those opportunities, because nothing's going to happen unless you make it happen. I think the most important thing that I'd tell someone is, even if it doesn't ask for a cover letter, do one. A university student looking for a placement is going to know it's a grueling process. It's really difficult.
For me, if they demonstrate that they're enthusiastic and they have knowledge, then you're only going to be onto a winner, really, in my opinion. They're the three things that I look for in a candidate.
So the more initiative that you take, the more you're going to learn from it, and the more you're going to be able to apply that to your future. It's only going to make you better.
Welcome back to the CX Insider podcast. I'm your new host, Simil Ann, and I'm joined here by my co-host, Greg.
Hello.
And our very special guest today is Elysia, our current marketing executive, podcaster, and editor at the CX Insider podcast. Welcome, Elysia.
Thank you. I'm sat on a different side of the sofa today.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So how does it feel being on the other side of the couch?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I like it. It's a different kind of pressure, but I like it.
You've got all the hot gossip to tell us.
How to be a placement student 101.
101, please enlighten us all.
Yeah, so I'm currently on my placement year, so third year at university. I study at Loughborough University, and I've just been doing my year of placement work here, and I'll be going back to finish my degree in September, which I'm very excited about, but I'm kind of sad that this placement journey is coming to an end. But yeah, it has to happen at some point.
So I guess you've kind of already introduced yourself, but do you mind telling us how exactly you did find this placement? And how was the whole recruitment process, the crazy ups and downs of it all?
Yeah, I mean, any university student looking for a placement is going to know it's a grueling process. Yeah. It's really difficult. I mean, let alone just actually forget about the actual, recruitment of it. Finding the job that you want to apply to is the first step, and getting your CV ready, doing loads of interview prep before you even get an interview. I really milked the use of my careers hub at university, which I really recommend to everyone. Firstly, LinkedIn was my best friend, right? I found all of my placements that I put in a list. Organisation was my key friend as well. I used LinkedIn. There's another website called Indeed, which you can use, and Bright Network. That's another one that I use.
I use Bright Network too.
Yeah, Bright Network, that was a good one, but I think that was more based to postgraduate schemes is what I found. So for the actual placement industry placements, I used LinkedIn, and I just knew that I wanted to get into marketing. So my degree at the moment is media and communications, but I wanted to do marketing. So I just searched in like marketing, went on the jobs, scoused where I wanted to go, and I saw podcaster. It came up as podcaster, and I was like, what is podcasting? That sounds so cool. So I applied to the job. Obviously you have to do your CV and your cover letter. I think the most important thing that I'd tell someone is, even if it doesn't ask for a cover letter, do one, because it might not be a necessity, but it just shows that you're willing and you're caring and you're going to go the extra mile. So, and you can get loads of help with it as well. Like I said, with your careers hub, send it to them, ask it if it's okay, ask for improvements. I think I did about 1 million drafts of my CV and cover letter before I actually sent it off.
Yeah.
And then, the actual recruitment process it wasn't as grueling as I thought it would be. It was still kind of a fairly long one. They also asked me to do, for this current placement, they might ask you to send in a couple of extra bits. So they asked me to send in a video of me talking about, I think, who I would want to interview on a podcast. And I was like, okay, I know who I'm going to do. I'm going to do Sheryl Sandberg, who is the COO of Facebook. And I talked about why, I said she's a feminist. She's leading the way for women in a technology and STEM world. I talked about that, and I put my personality into it, I think, because it's a podcasting position as well. You want to show that you're comfortable on camera. I didn't actually do any editing, but when we've then come to the next recruitment process, we kind of thought it would be cool if someone did like animation or something like that. So that's an extra mile that I didn't think of, but obviously now from the other side of it, we see that would be really cool.
Yeah.
It would be another way to make your application stand out. You're never going to get penalised for going the extra mile. And then once I did that, I did my first round interview, which I just met a few people on a panel, which can be really daunting sometimes, especially like on Teams. I'd never really used Teams before, especially at uni. Like I just didn't need to, so I was like practicing the night before on the link, checking that I was going through. Like, is my camera working? Is my microphone working?
Being there 5 minutes before everyone.
Exactly. Sometimes like 10 minutes before everyone, just waiting on the call. It's better than like being an hour late or something, because suddenly the technology is not working, your Wi-Fi is cut out. Also at university, if you're like in a halls or a house, tell everyone I've got an interview. Like, guys, please be quiet. Everyone's going through it as well, so have a notice on your door saying, please, shh, you're walking past my room. And that incident, I can't even properly remember that one, because I mean it feels so long ago now, over a year ago now.
Yeah.
I think they ask you the basic things, and again, use your career hub to do your mock interviews. Think about what you want to say as well. The STAR method is always a good one. Situation, task, action, result, and reflection. I think is what I used to use. And I had all my notes outside, like behind my computer, looking at them. And do your prep as well. Do your prep. When we were doing the interviews this year, and we asked people like, what's your favorite podcast episode, and they've never even watched the podcast, like, if you're applying for a job, do some background research into it. You don't need to know like when was it founded, but at least know what you're walking in on, because it's just, as soon as you don't even know what you're applying for, they're just going to be like, all right, next. Yeah, exactly. And then the third stage of the interview and the final stage was I had to create my own presentation of like, if I were to create a podcast, what would it be? I remember I did a Chronicles of a CEO, which was like a play on words. I think it's been done a million times before, which
it's good though. Yeah. Really good.
And I enjoyed that. You had to make your own logo, and I still hadn't like properly grasped all. I mean, I was using Canva at that point in time. I'd never used Photoshop, but you're kind of displaying that you've got the basic skills for it, right? And you can learn more. And then I got the call that day saying I got the
super
job.
exciting.
Tried not to cry on the phone. I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. The process is over. I don't have to worry anymore. It can get really tight. It can get really scary if it's. I mean, I think I got my placement in April, but some people, especially if you're taking the year out. I mean, worst thing comes to worst, just work from home, like work in a coffee shop. You can try find like a placement in like December. If everyone tries to find it before September, but if the worst thing comes to worst, like you'll find something eventually. But so yeah, that was the recruitment process. I mean, everything's different. I know that some places do like assessment centers, and again, YouTube, you can use YouTube for that. You can again mock assessment centers. I think I used to get loads of emails through my Loughborough email account saying like, you can do a mock assessment center in the careers hub. Like, just
utilize everything.
Utilize it. Like, you're not always going to have the facilities to check your CVs and people that are going to be checking your cover letters, and it's so important that you're using the help that you're given. Don't think, I can do it on my own. Like, use what you're given.
That's for sure. It can be such a long and hard process, and then obviously from our end, we don't see everything on the other end, what the companies are thinking, what they're looking for, what stands out. And I guess that leads me to my next question is, Greg, when you're looking for an intern, what characteristics or what stands out to you in candidates when you're like, he or he's going to be a good placement?
It's a really good question, actually, because you're our 7th year of this placement program. I can't believe that, actually. It's gone so fast. I can't believe. But definitely over like the 7 years that we've been hiring for this role, we've definitely got in a groove of looking for certain things, for sure. I once heard like this philosophy or concept about hiring. Every company's different, every role, of course, different, but generally a good philosophy to hire on is try to hire people based on those unteachable skills. So a lot of things people can learn, and obviously you can teach, and a lot of that is specific to the business or the role that they're going to be doing. Because people, if you hire the right person and they have the right other skill sets, which I'll talk about in a minute, you will be able to get them to a place where they're super effective in their role. But what's harder to do is to teach people what they call the unteachable skills. So things like enthusiasm. I look for someone who is generally enthusiastic. Do they have an energy or a passion about their topic or interest? So if it's marketing or it's podcasting, I'm always looking, is there like a spark there in terms of like a general level, a really, high level of enthusiasm and passion.
Spark in their eyes.
Exactly, yeah. You
Yeah.
need that in the person, because if you don't have that, then there's not the sort of the self-motivation that I think is crucial. So I think like enthusiasm is one. I think a second key trait that's, again, a bit of a, not necessarily impossible to learn, or, it's more of a self-taught skill, is like generally thinking outside the box, or innovation, basically, is like, are the candidates are they demonstrating examples where they've actually innovated? So it could be in university work, it could be on personal projects outside, it could be a complete, external to work in professional environment thing that they do. It doesn't necessarily matter, but do they demonstrate skills of innovating and thinking differently and thinking outside the box? Those are the two most important for me, and then there is one more, which is knowledge. So do they demonstrate knowledge in the right area? What I don't mean they have to be completely like book smart and obviously necessarily achieving from an academic perspective, but do they demonstrate knowledge in the area that they are passionate about? Because that's a really good sign that they've combined passion with actual action, because that's the only way to attain the knowledge. So for me, if they demonstrate that they're enthusiastic and they have knowledge, then you're only going to be onto a winner, really, in my opinion. They're the three things that I look for in a candidate. So it's not about like what they're projected for their degree or what course they're necessarily doing. Because I can tell you now, over the last 7 years, we've hired from a variety of courses, and more often than not, they're not actually marketing-based courses. They can be media, it can be PR, it can be communications, English.
I did economics.
Okay, economics. So yeah, exactly. I was thinking, I don't even know what course, what your degree is, honestly. And to me, that's not what's important. It's the individual that's important. And are they demonstrating those skills that are more of the unteachable skills versus the teaching ones, especially when you're getting started in your career? That's the sort of the model that we've operated for the last few years. And I'd say it's worked out, because we've had seven incredible candidates that we've selected, and every year it just keeps moving forward. So I don't know whether that's helpful to the audience or not, but I would say make sure you're focusing on the skills, your personal skills, that are not just academic. Can I do X, Y, and Z that the job requires? Yes, but are you demonstrating enthusiasm? Are you demonstrating innovation? Do you have examples up your sleeve of where you've had to think differently? Those things are just as important, in my opinion, if not more, than some of the more, like I say, academic boxes you need to tick.
Because you can learn it all you want, but you can't, if you can't physically have the enthusiasm to do it, then it's not going to work out, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I look at Elysia's interview. I looked at your interview. I remember very clearly, like when you came onto that interview, you're very smiley, enthusiastic. You're giving long, elongated answers to the difficult questions. And that's because you're passionate, and like you had thought about in advance what questions might be coming your way, and you're also passionate about your topic. So
I'm going to blush. I'm so chuffed.
Thank you. But that's the truth. That is the truth. That's the reason why you're sat here and why you're sat here. That's it for me anyway. Okay, Elysia, first question from me. This is interesting to get to ask you questions now, which is quite cool. What did you find as the biggest like adjustment going from university life then into full-time scary working life?
So much. so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with the biggest positive, I think, which was having your weekends and being able to like switch off and not have to be like studying or revising or doing my coursework in the evenings. And on the weekends, I actually get to enjoy my weekends, and that was like a huge one. And now part of me is kind of like, oh my God, I have to go back to actually sitting in bed doing work now. Like,
Like 3 a.m. writing coursework.
Exactly that. So that was one big adjustment. I think the second big adjustment was like doing practical working instead of written essays and, the sort of knowledge literacy based things like that. I think it was, for my learning style, I really enjoy learning as I do things and actually putting things into like a practical sense. That was a really nice adjustment, but that's something that you have to get used to. I think for me personally, that's just my learning style, but for other people, I can imagine that could be like a jump. Being given autonomy and independence about what I'm doing. Again, it varies on what job you're doing and the specific people that, you know, you guys have given me so much autonomy, and you basically gave me the podcast and went, here you go, here's your baby, raise it, you know. Like, but that was like a lot.
Pushed you in the deep end.
Exactly, that it was a lot, but again, I found that that's what really helped me learn. I suppose knowing, should I do this or shouldn't? Should I wait to be told to do this? And I'm always like quite big on show initiative and, you know, just go the extra mile. But equally, as I think as a placement student, you don't always want to overstep, and you don't want to be doing something. I didn't want to be like, am I being too pushy, or am I, you know, doing something that they just want me to slow down, or that's not your job, like pipe down a little bit. So I think that was one thing that I kind of had to get used to. But then I quickly realised that you guys are like, do it, like do what you want. Obviously ask for approval first, but you know, it was also learning my own style of things, because if you've not got too much experience, which we're placement students, you know, we're still at university, a lot of people have come straight from school, straight from A-levels, before that you've done GCSEs. So unless you've done like a summer internship or really done something outside in your extracurricular, you don't have that much experience to go off of. No one's expecting you to be perfect. You know, no one's expecting you to come in and be, I know everything, I'm a professional worker, like I've got 40 years in tech and real estate. You know, no one's expecting you to come in and know everything. So that was another adjustment, like actually holding myself to realistic expectations. I think everyone kind of goes in and thinks, oh my God, what if
like it's okay to fail?
Exactly. Like I think it's such a big anxiety that I kind of felt was, what if I go in and I don't know as much as they expect me to learn? They don't, unless you've lied on your CV about what you know, like it says must be really good at Excel and Microsoft Office and Premiere Pro. Obviously, don't lie if it's saying that you have to be really good, but no one's expecting you to like come in and be a specialist unless they've said you need to be a specialist, right?
Yep.
So I think that was another thing. It's just managing expectations. Like, don't hold yourself against something too high, because you're still learning. And I think I've only just kind of found that balance now, but you feel so much more confident after the placement year. It's actually insane, the difference in just sort of bringing yourself down. You've never done it before. So that was, I think, my other
big adjustment.
Yeah.
To add to that, maybe one thing, just from my perspective, seeing like the placement students come through every year, I would definitely say back yourself more, be more confident earlier on, because you know, that company, whether it's ACF or somewhere else, they have selected you for a reason. So they obviously believe in you and they think you've got skills, you've got passion, all the things we talked about. So don't forget to back yourself. Like, come in and be as confident as you can. Like you say, I know there's always a line about, you know, what I do, what shouldn't I do, and things like that, for sure. But don't be afraid to back yourself and bring your ideas to the table. It works particularly well for us because we do believe that we hire great people, so we give you responsibility because we know that you're going to do good things with it. Every company is different, I appreciate from that perspective, but definitely don't be afraid as a placement student. So like, back yourself, do exactly what you've done, which is like take on every challenge, push the boundaries, try and innovate in as many ways as you can, run ideas past people. Like, we're always talking about new ideas about, can we do this with the podcast, can we do that? And I think that's a big thing for placements. Just because you are a placement student at the start of your career, it doesn't mean in any way, shape or form that your ideas and your like energy coming into that business is any less valuable than anyone else in the business. If anything, we've always had the philosophy that the newest person with the newest ideas is often actually the most important, because they're seeing it from a completely different sort of perspective. And therefore I think, like, you know, as a placement student, don't be afraid to back yourself from the day dot, and be as confident as you can, and, you know, navigate this working world in your own way, of course, but believe in yourself. Like the age old, just believe in yourself at the start of your career, because like, if you've got to where you are and you've got this role, you've got that for a reason. So back yourself and give it everything you've got. So that's what you've done, right? So that's like, that is a good example of like what you can do if you just believe in yourself a little bit and then just keep moving forward. So
fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Also, the worst they can say is no.
Exactly,
the worst thing.
Not yet.
You know.
And don't forget, you're going to be in a professional working environment. So if you are heading down the wrong course on a certain project, like someone is going to be there to correct you. Like if you were trying to do something, and I was like, I don't think that's quite right for the podcast, I would be the first person to say, like, it's a good idea, but I think we should do this. Like, so you're in an environment where you can fail. Like you said, you can fail. That's part of, I fail all the time. Everyone in work fails all the time. And it's about, are you failing trying to achieve something new, trying to innovate, trying to do something different? That's what you want to be failing at, because you're going to get it wrong more often than you're going to get it right, quite commonly. And it's totally fine. So, well, this is a tough one, because we talked about this with one of our guests who was head of student experience actually recently on one of the episodes. But how do you feel like university helped you prepare for a placement? You talked about what department, sorry, was it?
My career hub.
The career hub. You mentioned that, for example. But yeah, how did university help you prep in terms of either societies or modules or projects or anything?
First, the main thing for me was my society. So I am a part of the dance society, and I took on some roles of voluntary roles, but of high importance, I suppose, to keep that society running. You know, it's all student led. So I was the social secretary and event manager, and I was also the choreographer of one of the dance teams. So I'll start with the event manager and social secretary. That really, really helped me, I think, because it's like a job. You're not getting paid for it, but it's a job. Yeah. And it is.
Unpaid intern.
Unpaid intern.
Yeah.
But it's paid in the fact that you're getting experience. Yeah. So for my role, you know, I planned all the events. I had to network with different people, network with different buildings and different restaurants, call them, check if we can use their venue, you know, count numbers, use spreadsheets, check the budgets, all things that I've used in this internship as well, and things that I'm sure I'll have to use in jobs further down the line. You know, it helped me practice Excel, it helped me learn how to use numbers a little bit more, and, you know, take realistic measurements of counts. And, you know, we've got, let's say, 100 people coming to an event, we've got 100 wristbands. What if a wristband snaps? You know, what if a wristband snaps and they need entry and you've got them on the list, they don't have a wristband? Get some spares, you know, be prepared. Again, I suppose choreographer, it's kind of a bit of a different one. It's kind of a bit more like, it's not a stretch, but you just have to see it in the right way. You know, I had to be very creative. That was using one part of my brain. It was a complete different scenario to right now. But the thing that I did have to look out for was be really prepared, because I think you have to be ready to be in a volatile market. Let's say you're in a volatile market, things might change. You know, we do a lot of work with PR here. So if you release an episode or something happens, something gets posted, and, you know, a PR team thinks that's actually against our regulations and you can't do that. You have to be quick acting, or, you know, you accidentally upload something that's sort of sneak peek of, I don't know, next season, and you didn't want to post that right now. You need to be very quick. You know, someone messages you, you need to quickly take that away. Just like with my dance, I had practice in that because, you know, we had like a showcase coming up and someone drops out. You need to have an understudy. You need to have someone that is ready to jump into that role, and no one's going to be ready to jump into that role unless you tell them. So you as the coach need to be looking for that problem, look for problems before they happen. So you always have a solution for if something does come up. You know, costumes, you know, make sure they try on their costumes before the show. Same thing, you know, make sure the people with the podcast have got an episode plan before they come to the episode. Things like that. I think for my modules were really helpful. My practical work was more helpful, but my module help, like doing video communications, I did a lot of communication work, and my psychology modules were really helpful for this internship. And I think they're going to continue to be really helpful throughout the rest of my career, because psychology comes into everything. And I've been times where I've been sat on the sofa or on the couch with a guest, and they're talking about things that it just clicks with me, because I think I learned about that. Things like communication. You need to communicate with your workers, you know, even if it's like advertising and you're advertising something, you need to convey, that's a sign of communication. What words you're using, what's the syntax, how are you saying it? That's all things that I learned from my course, and they were really interesting. I think I found that really interesting in the psychology of perceived wait times. You know, we've talked about it so many times. Are you waiting for 10 minutes, or do you just feel like you're waiting for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And what psychology can you use to make you feel like that time's going a bit quicker? So things like that.
Would you say, so your biggest advice to the students watching, would you tell them just to get involved in what it could be? Because you said like dance, or I was like in BFS, just get involved. You never know what transferable skills you get from that.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be dance, it doesn't have to be BFS, it doesn't have to be anything specific, but if you're doing something, you're learning something. So I think that's my biggest probably tip, and that's what helped me as well. You know, how I said I did dance for fun, right? That I didn't do it just because I thought it would look really good on my CV. I do dance because I enjoy it, and I wanted to do the event management, and I wanted to be a coach, but I also did know that I'd be learning things from it. So don't wait for opportunities to come to you. Put yourself into those opportunities, because nothing's going to happen unless you make it happen. So, and that's doing things and getting experience is the best way to learn, I think, for me.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to ask, and this is really important to me as well, what does your typical day look like? What are the ins and outs? Do you have like a schedule, or is it vary day to day?
I think it depends on the person, because I'm a very organised person. I like to have a schedule. I like to do things in kind of not a robotic way, but I like to know that I've got a system working out. So for this specific internship, it's not really like on one hand, you've not got like a typical day-to-day, because you might be going to an event, you might have to spend a bit longer doing a new opportunity or something like that. But on the most part, you kind of do have a day-to-day. You know, it is a circle. I start with like planning the introduction calls, doing the introduction call, making an episode plan, booking the studio, recording the episode, producing the episode, editing the episode, doing the short form content and the social media, and then posting it, and then making sure that that's all okay, uploading it, advertising it, promoting it, and do it all over again with the next person. But so that's the gist of it. But then you do get like given new tasks, you know, hey Elysia, how are you handling things? Have you got your feet on the ground now? Do you want to pick up a marketing campaign? Do you want to do a new ad campaign? Do you want to learn how to do this marketing email? So you'll be given new opportunities that you have to multitask alongside your usual day-to-day. And then you've got the events, if you want to go to like a marketing event or an advertising event. So also sometimes like team meetings and things like that. So it's not like a day-to-day strict, but I make myself strict with it.
On that, I guess I can move on to the next question. Is there a specific project or event which you're really proud about that you did during your placement year?
You know, I think my biggest like thing that I was really happy about was like, kind of purging what had been done before. Like, I think I really appreciate the way that the podcast was before. I think it was run always amazingly. And then when I was really grateful for was the fact that I was actually able to put my stamp on it. So I think we had some kind of sales and marketing meeting, and we had to pitch our ideas. So I pitched, you know, I thought it was kind of a bit far-fetched. I didn't think I was going to be able to do everything that I pitched, but I was. You know, I wanted to change the thumbnails, I wanted to update them, and using situational cues, you know, seeing current podcasts, what they look like. And I just personally felt that it was a little bit, we could have done more. I just change it a little bit. There was nothing wrong with the thumbnails before they were, but everything needs changing every now and then. Doesn't mean it was bad before, it just means it's an update. And then the same with like the introductions and stuff. I think I kind of taught myself how to do that kind of thing, so I'm sure it could be much better than it is now, but I think I was quite proud of myself teaching myself how to do that, and kind of having that vision and being able to use my creative instincts to do those kind of changes. And then I was really proud of myself as well. Dan gave me like a marketing, an email campaign to do, and I had never used the software platform before. And it wasn't, I just never really thought of that as a job. Like I didn't realise how much work went on towards that. But I was really proud of myself for picking it up. I mean, it took me a couple of weeks, don't get me wrong. But I was proud of myself for being able to do that and learning the new skill. I think I'm always pretty tap on the back when I learn something new, because it's just a good feeling. But I think that's probably what I'm most proud of. I think doing the thumbnails and doing the introduction, changing that, I think that's my like most proud thing.
You did take a lot of initiative during your placement year.
Yeah,
main
I
here.
think
Yeah.
I think so much of it came from, I think, the fact that I didn't have a huge transfer process with my past intern. Obviously, you can never say no to too much training, but I think for my learning style, being able to just be thrown in the deep end and do it myself, like that was really, really beneficial to me, and I enjoyed it. And the team was so helpful as well, because I just remember I was on the phone to Dan every 5 minutes, like, Dan, I need help. Dan, I need help.
Yeah.
It's me again. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah. And also Greg was so supportive in telling me, like, do what you want. It's your podcast, you know, do what you want, take your initiative. That's a good idea. Run with it, go with it. Like, and that was a lot of encouragement, I think. That once I get kind of Greg's like, yeah, that's a good idea. You should try that. I'm like, oh,
Get
okay,
running
I'm
with
gonna do it.
Nice.
That's really cool. Do you know what? It's a good thing to, I think, a good skill to demonstrate or to try out when you're in a working environment is if you've got a new idea and someone says, like, run with it, the idea is to come up with the idea, work out how you're going to track and measure if it's good or bad. So did it succeed or did it fail? And then have that as a reportable measurement stick as to whether it worked or not. That's like a really underrated skill. I know it's simple and obvious, but very, very, very commonly missed actually in any project. So if you've got a new idea and you've taken it to someone, they said, yep, thumbs up, go with it because it's a good idea. What you want to be thinking is, okay, how do I now make sure I track this? Or how am I going to measure this, whether it worked or it didn't? And then how am I going to report that back to whoever it is, the business or the people around me, so that we can all agree whether that worked or it didn't. And that's the thing to do with these new ideas is don't worry about the idea or get caught up on the idea being like a personal thing. It's just, let's try the idea, let's work out whether it worked or not. That's I think that's an underrated skill, especially at placement student level. That is so useful, because if you can do that, the business are just like super impressed that you've taken an idea, you've done it, you worked out whether it worked or not, and then you move on. So do we do it again or do we not? It's a good skill. Cool. I think I've got one more question. It was just to do with advice to future students. You have given obviously some really good advice throughout this podcast. Yeah, for sure.
I'm like listening. I'm like, I should write this down.
There you go. And I think, yeah, any extra advice that you have for students out there applying or maybe on their placement?
Yeah, I mean, I think not repeat what I've already said, I'd say make connections, whether it's like with your team, make those connections, because it will make your time so much more enjoyable as well if you like get on and learn from other people and ask those silly questions like that you think are silly but they're not. Like, ask, so what was your first job, how did you get into it? You know, I think I've asked you, I've asked Adam, I've asked all the team how they got into what they're doing. I mean, I'm asking because I want to know from them, but I'm also asking so I can figure out what I can do, because there's so many jobs out there as well that you don't actually know exist. I didn't realise that customer experience was such a big thing before this role, and I've learned so much about it that I'm now actually seriously considering a career in customer experience. And I think that's just so important to ask. Everyone's been there, everyone's started out, and they're starting out from somewhere, so just get as many ideas as you can as to where you can start out and put that into your own work, you know, get your foot in the door somewhere.
Land.
Yeah, I think that just the last piece of advice that I'd give someone is just show initiative. Don't take that kind of personality trait where it's like, I'll do the bare minimum because that's what I'm being asked to do. The whole point of a placement is that you're learning, is that you're gaining something from it. You're not doing a placement to help the business out, they're doing it to help you out. So the more initiative that you take, the more you're going to learn from it, and the more you're going to be able to apply that to your future. It's only going to make you better. It's not going to help the business whether you do more work or not. Like, I mean, it might, but it's helping you. So really just take advantage of the year, because you're not going to get an opportunity as amazing as your placement year.
I'm going to clip that.
Yeah.
For the TikTok.
Awesome.
Okay, I guess I'm going to ask you some few quick fire questions. What is your favorite coffee order?
My favourite, frappe.
We talked about this.
Agree. We talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
Frappe with milk, not water.
Biggest work win so far?
Biggest work win? Getting this placement.
Yeah. What's one thing that you miss about university that maybe you're looking forward to going back and experiencing again?
Living with my friends. Living with my friends.
The girl party.
The girl party, like, it's just, you're so close to everyone. Everyone's so easily accessible. even if you don't live with them, like they're 5 minutes down the road. You know, now I'm away from uni and my best friends are in like Leicester, Brighton, Exeter, like they're so far away. But that, and dance as well, taking advantage of all the societies and stuff at such a low price.
I'll maybe ask one other one. So now that you've been a podcast host for a year, you talked about interviewing the COO, I think it was Facebook before. Who would you interview now? Would you interview someone different if you could?
Yeah. I've not interviewed Sheryl Sandberg yet, so that is definitely still on the list of I want. I think Simon Squibb as well is definitely up there. He's like doing so much amazing work for youths and like to help other people. So I'd love to talk to him. So many people. I think so many people. But they're my top 2.
Awesome. Well, if I can, I'll just say a quick thank you to you, because you've obviously been an incredible host for the podcast this year, but you really have done everything that you said you've done in this podcast episode in terms of like applying yourself and like innovating and thinking differently. So I guess hats off to you for doing that, because that takes courage, but it also takes a lot of hard work. And I know you've done both this year. So yeah, well done for, I think hopefully it's been a fun, but also productive and successful podcast year. So cut to an episode in the future where we're interviewing Elysia as the CX expert. Do you know what I mean? We'll cut this in like a couple of years' time. You'll be back on the podcast. So yeah, well done to you. And
thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I guess I have one more thing to say. It's just I'm so excited. You've left me such like big shoes to fill. I just glowing reviews, and I don't know how I will, but I'm just so excited to learn from you more.